Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Magaly Colimion-Christopher. I am the producing artistic director of Conch Productions, and welcome to Artist Chat December 15th. Today, as you know, we're going to have this amazing conversation with amazing artists who are film and television artists. And we're going to be talking about what is life like on the sets during pandemic COVID-19. What is it like? What are the adjustments? If you've never heard of Conch Productions, or if this is the first time you've ever come to our site to see a conversation, I'll tell you a bit about Conch Productions. Conch Productions produces, develops, presents new plays written by Caribbean American and Caribbean diaspora writers. Our mission is to infuse underrepresented, powerful, amazing voices into American film and television and theater. So let's start with our guest for today. Our first guest, not our first guest, but one of our three amazing guests today is Shinelle Azoroh. Yes, I did stutter. I absolutely did stutter. Shinelle is an actress, writer, director, producer. She attained her MFA in acting from Tony Award winning American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco, California. Go California! She made her television debut in the movie Betty and Coretta. Shinelle can be seen in Code Black and Night Shift and the Oscar-nominated short DeKalb Elementary, and the features Nostalgia and Blumhouse's film Don't Let Go. Shinelle's YouTube comedy series, Roxy Wolfgang, which I did watch today so I could know what I'm talking about, very funny, was produced through her company, Renovation Productions, and is streaming on YouTube. So after we're done, not now, but after we're done, you go on YouTube and see her show. And she's currently filming. She is filming an amazing sports drama called Swagger, and it's going to be on Apple TV. And it was created by Reggie Rock Bythewood. Welcome, welcome, Shinelle. Next, we have Yvette Garnier. You know Yvette Gagne because she was involved with a lot of other Conch productions. And if you weren't around before, you need to go see our streaming content. Yvette is an Obie Award, LA Ovations Award, NAACP Image Award, and a Delco Award winning actor extraordinaire. Now, I'm not going to tell you how extraordinary. You just need to look her up. But she lives and works out of New York City. Yvette is known for working with August Wilson, the amazing playwright, originating the roles of Rena in Jitney and Black Mary in Gem of the Ocean. Her Broadway credits include The Miracle Worker, King Hedley 2, and she's performed on London stages in the production of Jitney. Her off-Broadway credits include The Slow Room, The Block, Pitbulls, Breath Boom, Jitney, For Colored Girls. Now, Yvette Gagne is here today because she's currently recurring in New Amsterdam on NBC as Nurse Linda Weber. Welcome, 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 Yvette. And we have the pleasure of having Tanya Taylor, an award-winning Jamaican commercial writer, producer, and director. Now, you know Tanya because she was one of the directors during our Reset series and Blue Light series. Tanya, in 2019, wrote and directed and produced her first indie narrative short, Winston. Now, Winston has been described as a riveting and intense film. The LGBTQ themed short has garnered a nomination for Best Screenplay and 2 Best Actor awards. Welcome, 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 Tanya. Hey, ladies, what's up? Go ahead and unmute because I want you to feel free to just go, and talk. Now,
Hi.
how do we approach this? Hi.
Yep.
So I'm going to start with, okay, what is the day in a life on a set now that we're in a pandemic? Now, I went online and researched SAG's policies about Zone A, Zone B, Zone C.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys can give me a little insight into what it's like and what are these zones? what are these zones that people are talking about, and how does it feel being zoned A versus zoned B, or zone C is home, but what are these zones doing to you creatively? So let's just start with Yvette.
Hi everybody. I'm so grateful and happy to be here and to be able to be working and to be able to be in a position to actually talk about this process.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about the zone thing. I could just tell you about my experience and what it was like for me when I went on set 2 weeks ago. And what I had to do was for costume fitting, I had to have a test and
The COVID
then
test, right?
a COVID test. Yes, a COVID test. And it was a pre-test. And then I had to go back the day of the costume fitting and have a rapid test.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, everyone was masked. It was just me and 6 feet, distancing and all of that. And then the day that I had to shoot, I had to take another COVID test the 2 days before. And then the day of shooting, I had to take another COVID test to shoot that day. So that was a total of 4 tests prior to actually being able to walk on the set to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's the zone thing or not, but being on set, I was in my same dressing room that I had the year before. Well, actually, yeah, I shot, I think, in January of 2020 or December 2019. I'm not sure, but yeah, but the same dressing room. And so I don't know about the zone thing. So that's my response to the zone thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Shinelle, your project, how long have you been on set?
I believe we started back in October. We began shooting at the beginning of the year, and then we had to pause in March. And we came back, and I'm zone A, and I know that I test pretty frequently, like 5 days a
Mm-hmm.
week, even when I'm
Yeah.
not shooting. So anyone,
5 days a week.
mhm, yeah, we test pretty free, the actors. And anyone who's around us, I believe they're zone A. And some people I don't see are like B or C, or that I don't have contact. So they keep it pretty like this is, I guess, my
Yeah.
pod or my zones. So that if there is contact, they know they contact trace. And then they're like, okay, you guys go in quarantine. So I'm zone A, and how it's affected me like creatively. You have to come in a little early. I already come in early, and you have to go and get your temperature taken. It's either on the forehead or they'll like wave it around your wrist, and you have to do a survey. This is with CVS. If you have any symptoms, let them know how you're feeling that day.
Mm-hmm.
And you get there, and I don't get to normally talk to the PAs like I used to, or like for me to feel comfortable and I like to feel like I'm with a family, and
Yeah.
it's a very vulnerable state we have to be in. So I like to say hey to everybody, but I can't do that anymore. And it's very, when you're not there, I find that you have to be very responsible because your actions outside of work could affect everybody on a production. So I think creatively, I have to be more, go in and like be like, okay, this is business. Because it used to be like, oh, I'm social. How are you doing? Can you go grab me this and eat whatever's out of somebody's hands? Yeah, it's very strict. And before you sit in a chair, they have to make sure it's clean, which I appreciate because I was also scared to come back to work. So yeah, I'm zone A, and so everything is like stop, then go. Because there's a lot of stop and go before, but now it's like, let's make sure it's clean. Let's wipe it down. Yeah, it's a
So
lot of
zone
that.
A means you're not wearing a mask. Is that correct?
So we wear a mask up until like, so we'll do like a little rehearsal on set, and then we'll remove the mask when we're shooting. And when we remove our mask, anyone around us, the cameraman, anybody, they have on their mask and a shield. And so the actors are the only ones without a mask for the period of the scene.
Right. So the moment the scene is done, are you the one putting your own mask on, or is someone handing that to you?
So this changes. So if there is somebody handing me a mask, it's in a bag and they don't touch it. Or they hand me a bag, and here's a little nugget. When you're watching it, you won't see it, but like actors will stick in their clothes, or so no one will touch it, or stick it in the couch, just somewhere inside of a bag.
Right.
So yeah, there'll be some scenes that it may be in my bra, it may be in my pants. But yeah, that mask is handy. It's right there. Cause then the AD, right when we cut, it's like, put your mask on. So
right.
yeah.
And they say, Tanya, they say that there are 2 team members that are new to the whole production team now because of the pandemic. There are 2
Oh,
that are like policing everything. What are they? What are their
well,
titles?
I know one, there's a COVID compliance officer that you have to hire.
Right.
So I do a bunch of different things. So I write, produce, and directing mostly, but then now COVID, you take the jobs where you get them. So I'm actually coordinating a documentary with a company. This is the second time I'm working with a company. This time, however, the director is DGA. So, and it's a female director. I'm so happy about it. But anyway, so she's DGA, and because she's DGA, we have to test every 72 hours. So we have to do a PCR at least once a week because we're
What
not
is a
filming more than.
PCR for those of us who haven't been tested?
I do not know what the technical term is because I pushed it out of my head, but it is the one that you have to send away to a lab for testing. So that's a lab test, and
So
that's the one that takes.
It's a blood test.
Yeah,
It's a swab.
it's a swab. It's a swab way up there in the brain.
I think that's the PCR, maybe.
Yeah, that's
PCR?
the PCR. PCR,
Yeah.
right. So the PCR and the rapid test are actually the same type of swab. One is just less deep into your cavity, and then one goes for lab testing, and one is like a quick test. So we have to do the lab test, which is the PCR test, at least once a week because we're filming 5 days or less for a week. And then every 72 hours, we have to have a rapid test, and that's everybody on set, including the director. And then because it's a documentary, there's a lot of research going on. So our directors and our EPs are flying in and out of the country, or in and out of the state, which is a problem. Yes. So they came in to do research a few weeks back, and they're coming from 2 different places. So they have to do pre-tests 3 days in advance of travel. And then they land, and they have to test out of quarantine in New York. So they have to stay in quarantine for 3 days, and then they have to test out. So we have to organize that. And then they do their every 3-day testing and that sort of thing. And then they get back on a plane. So you have to test them 3 days before they get back. It's a lot
too. Yeah.
So the quarantine is only 3 days? I thought quarantine was 14 days, but for
okay, so quarantine is 14 days, but you can do what's called test out of quarantine, which is they now know that the symptoms take somewhere about 2 to 3 days to manifest, or for it to be known that it's in your system. So you can test after 3 days of travel to see whether or not the last test and your travel, you actually contracted something, because that would be like a 6-day window. And so once you do that test and you're negative, and that can be a rapid test, you do that rapid test and you're negative, then you're free to walk about and do what you need to. So it's tedious, but it's doable. And what I have done in the way it's changed how before you get hired and you just, you still go about your regular life right up until set, So for example, last year this time, I was hired for a project right after Thanksgiving. So I flew to Virginia, hung out with the family, jumped on a train the following morning, came back to New York and went straight to work. This year, I was like, no, because I start a project a week away from Thanksgiving. Yeah. And then after that, I have like a bunch of other things that I've lined up to do. And I don't want to risk getting ill and passing that on to anybody else I'm working with. So I'm just going to stay in my New York City apartment until I'm working. So it's like, I'm sorry, family, I love you, but Zoom is the thing, So that's how I've changed my approach to going out. And then also with production, I have to pack a lot more now. So like my production bag is not only production supplies, just usually, your laptop, your, supplies, but you now have to pack. I mean, they give all this stuff to you on set, but I've been on a couple of different size productions, whether it's small or indie or whatever, in the last month especially, which is why I haven't been around much. And so it varies, and you want to be sure. So you walk with wipes, you walk with gloves, you walk with extra masks in baggies, and you walk with like little bottles of sanitizer, and that's like a whole different kit in and of itself. So yeah, it's a little different.
Okay,
A
so
little
hold
different.
on. Let's wait.
Oh.
Sanitizer, gloves, wipes.
Masks.
3 of us are in New York City, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who of you prior to March 8th did not have sanitizer wipes in your bag? You never did? Oh my God, I always had sanitizer and wipes because the subway is gross. Straight up disgusting. I would sometimes just use a wipe before and use a wipe on a pole. So I was just like, you know what? That man was nasty. I saw him. He was. Let me just go get my wipe. I
mean,
I particular.
I guess I probably had like 1 or 2 little packets of something, but now it's like
Mandatory
supplies. It's like if I needed to wipe down a train car, I could. It's not just my little spot. It's like if I need to wipe the whole thing. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So
But I did always have Lysol though. I always had Lysol in the house.
In the house, but not in your
not walking
backpack
around
or your
in
bag
your
when you walked out
right?
the door. Not when you walked out to go to a production. I did have wipes when I went on set because you get to the honey wagon and I'd have to wipe down before I put my stuff down because I don't know whose cooties I guess I'm a little germaphobe by nature. It sounds like it, but
which
I would
is weird that you live in New York and you're a germaphobe.
And like the makeup people, I'd be like, I didn't see when you took that brush out of. Can you get another? I would be so particular.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was working on a soap opera and somebody had pink eye.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah. So then the makeup artist started getting very particular. But I was like, what I've always been, you ain't putting no kind of thing on my eyes. This is my mascara. We good. I've always been kind of like particular about cooties. I'm going to call them cooties, not germs, because I'm immature. But the whole point the one question I have for you, Shinelle, do you feel comfortable with just a temperature test? Because everyone knows not everybody has a temperature. So when they're doing the temperature test, does a part of you go, I'm guarded right now? And does a part of you say, if everybody's just getting a temperature test, how comfortable will I be? Or do you just let it all go and just be in the now?
I haven't felt comfortable, but I remember my friends when this all came out, some people were like, I am not going back to work. I'm not doing this. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how are you going to live? Like, what's going to happen next? So I've always had this fear, just period. I think it's natural, like the human instinct to want to survive.
Yeah.
So, and there's always this letter that goes out each night. It's like, if you see something, say something. And I feel like that's the culture. Like, if you feel like people aren't being safe,
right,
they're acting, we have that here. Like, they're always like, let's talk about it. Let's try and fix it. So I'm never feeling safe about it. I'm trying to make sure I'm okay. And like I said, when I'm offset, I'm trying to be a responsible human because we don't know what this looks like. We don't know what this is. So it does kind of help me to like, okay, the temperature check, and I hope everybody's being honest with the survey. But I'm not 100%. But what helped me, it's like there are people working in the grocery stores that are like serving us, while we were hiding in the homes. And there are some people that have lost their jobs. They're not as blessed. And so I'm hoping that the work that I do helps people at home, because I was watching Netflix and watching things on TV. I'm just hoping it serves like I'm doing my part, because I don't feel 100%, even though everybody's trying to make me feel safe. It's just, we don't have a vaccine right now. I mean, some are coming out, but you know, I don't feel 100%, but they're doing a good job. And if I see something, I'll say something, and other people are doing that.
See,
So
I
you're working on a,
literally,
go ahead.
I just had this conversation with somebody today. I was like, one of the safest, I feel like one of the safest industries to be in right now because of all of the tests, because of these new, like larger productions have an entire department that's a COVID
Yeah.
department, and smaller ones have like a COVID compliance officer. And that
Mhm.
person knows production, or that those people know production, but then they also know what COVID protocols are. So they pay attention to the things that we're doing and the ways that we may lapse on set, you know, like wanting to put down a bottle and then pick it back up after we turn our back on it. No, don't do that because somebody else just touched it. You know,
Right,
it's like
right.
simple, and they pay attention to those things where you're not, because when you're on set and you're thinking about acting, or you're thinking about directing, or you're thinking about, you know, did lunch come in on time, you know, there is somebody always cognizant of that. And I was saying to a friend of mine, I was like, this is actually probably one of the safer industries to be in, because they've put protocols in place every step of the way to protect A, B, C, D, you know, and to ensure that everything is safe. So if something goes wrong, and if something contracts, and we've heard about sets being shut down for one person, and it's
Mhm.
because somebody stepped outside of the zone and did something they shouldn't have done, and then the entire production suffers for it. So I think everybody who wants to be employed and is grateful that we are employed in this industry is like making every effort to do our own personal best to ensure that we are not affecting the people around us, and we can keep working and keep the industry going.
That's true. That's true. I have somebody that's watching me. I tried to do one of these numbers, pull my mask down to just get some water. And one lady, strictly COVID officer, she was like, hey, you need to go off the set and go drink your water. And I was about to argue with her, like a few actors, like, but hey, this was just, she's like, no, they're on it. So yeah. And I've also gotten a text from my manager saying, you're in like the safest, safest place, you know, you're getting tested, you're good. Like she'll remind me. So yeah, it's true.
So Yvette, you work on a show where you're a nurse,
Yes.
and are they exploring the COVID story? Are you having to drop in the reality of our amazing nurses and doctors right now?
Listen, I was just thinking about the show that I work on, New Amsterdam, and it's a hospital show, and it's very present. And we have to wear masks while we're working. We have to talk through the masks. So we don't get the chance to take them off. We have to talk through them. And the director and all the crew, they're also talking through masks.
Wow.
And there is no more water on the set. There are no more bottles of water on the set, you know. And that was something that I found out when the first time that I shot for this season. But yes, it is very present. And, like, I can't really give away what the storyline is, but it is very present with what's happening, because we're in a hospital,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the medical industry is so affected by what's happened with COVID. So it's very present. And the set feels a lot less people on it. But the people that are there have a sense of, oh yeah, I remember you from last year. Like they're a little more into the people that are actually on the set. So it does feel more like a family this year than it did last year for me,
So there are
and I
fewer
appreciate
extras, right? There aren't
there
a
are
number of
less,
extras.
there are less background people,
Right.
And yeah, so it is very present as far as dealing with what we're actually dealing with in the world. And I do believe, because nurses are so prominent I'm getting emotional thinking about it, actually, because I think there's yet to be a storyline about nurses on the show that I'm on. And I'm feeling like, oh, so maybe they are now going to deal with the reality of a nurse and what it's like to be, on the front line, because nurses are on the front lines, when it comes to COVID, doctors as well, And I also wanted to say that something that Shinelle was saying about she hopes that the work that we're doing is in some way helping with the whole entire, emotional, psychological, financial aspect that we as people find ourselves dealing with this pandemic. And I heard someone say that being an artist is an essential worker.
Oh, absolutely. It's
So
an absolute
yeah,
truth. It's an absolute
yeah.
truth. I just want to
I
share some comments that we've been
Mhm.
getting just for a moment. Cynthia Kit says, "Hey, ladies," with musical notes, and "Hey, Yvette," with big hugs. And Andrew Brata says, "Hey, Tanya." He only loves you,
Hey,
but he didn't say
Andrew.
ladies. He's like, Tanya,
And
Tanya.
Hey,
Hey,
Cynthia.
Andrew, we're here too. Okay. Lester Finley says, "Hey, Yvette." Yvette, you got some love up in here. Okay, everyone who said, "Hey, Yvette," needs to send all of us some hearts.
Yeah. Hey, Lester.
Okay, okay. And we have Laureen Chesley says, "Man, Chanel," and Lester says, "Truth." So I'm thinking he's saying truth to you, Chanel, or to everyone. So we have an amazing audience that's totally captivated. So keep on sending messages, and I'll keep on reading them. Tanya, what were you about to share?
Oh, I was saying to what Yvette was talking about with the storylines and who's allowed on set and that sort of thing. I was in this new social app called Clubhouse, and it's a listening thing. And Ava DuVernay popped in, and she was talking about writing for Queen Sugar, and she said her struggle is they can only use the main actors in the piece because of COVID. She decided that they can only use the main characters. So every story and every script can only have the main characters. So all those extras and things like that that we used to have, we don't have anymore.
A lot of actors are.
So that's how people are trying to get back to work in a safe and healthy environment.
Now, do you think this is a state by state decision? Every state has their own protocol. You're in Virginia, Chanel. You're in New York, Yvette. And, SAG puts out this protocol that they're supposed to be actually the TRG. What was the letter? What was
PCR.
the PCR every 3
PCR,
days?
yeah.
A PCR test every 3 days, not just
Mhm.
temperature, right? And Yvette shared that when she had to go to set, she had to have 4 tests.
Mhm.
And Chanel shared that she gets a temperature test 5 days a
Oh
week.
no, you get a temperature test twice a day or every time you leave set and come back in.
Okay.
So if
That's New
you
York,
are on
though.
set
You're in
in
New York.
no, it's not New York. It's
Okay.
the SAG rules, the DGA rules, and most of Hollywood production rules have gone for all productions across the board.
Okay.
So when you have a COVID compliance officer, these are the things they're being trained in, and these are the things they're getting certified in. So
Okay.
they're the person that says to you what you can and cannot do. So, like, for example, on our production, we have to drive. Everybody either has to have their own vehicle, or it has to be a large enough vehicle that each row can have only one person, or you can skip a row. And you cannot do that if the person is not comfortable with it. So they have to be comfortable with traveling in the same vehicle as somebody else, even if there is a row apart, right? So there's a lot of the cost factor, and this is something that I admire productions for taking this on, because from a producer standpoint and from a production coordinator, line producer standpoint, the cost factor of COVID is off the chain. You have to buy PPE for everybody else. You have to sanitize all your locations. And when we say sanitize, we don't mean wipe down. Like, we mean, like, there's a steaming thing that goes in, and you kind of, all services, porous and non-porous services, are steamed before you go in and when you come out of a location. So people aren't just wiping down things anymore. And then, you have all the people that you've now hired, the COVID officer and things like that. And then if you're traveling, you are literally putting one person in a car. So you have to rent a car for each like on a job like ours, which is like 12 people. If you don't have your own car, you have to rent a car for the person. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So
Expensive.
I was about to get to the costs to produce during COVID. So Shinelle, have you been producing, or you've been too busy with working? Because I know you're also a producer.
with this, and because I'm very independent in my productions,
Right.
I don't think I could afford right now taking care of
Mm.
each actor. And I wouldn't do anything unless I could pay for the
Right,
testing.
right,
This
right.
changes things for people with like a lower budget.
Yeah.
Oh no, so I did an indie job. I
I
directed an
With that,
indie project. I
yeah.
directed an indie short. And what they did was they found the free COVID testing in New York
Mm-hmm.
and they sent you the links to it. And they were like, go and get tested and send us. And you need to do it within 3 days of coming to set. And you need to send us a copy of your negative test. And I was just like, oh, they kind of just did the work for me. That works.
The
So
free,
now I know where to do
Oh
a free
yeah.
test in New York.
who is the free through? Is that through like
Through New York State. New York State, and I believe LA also has free testing facilities. And then a lot of the urgent care, if you go there and you tell them you don't have insurance, they still do the test because they have to do the test and they won't charge you. But if you have insurance, then they'll charge your insurance. So it's like this weird gray area of testing. And then of course you have the people you pay to test, you know. So like if you need a concierge test, call me. I'll tell you where to go. I'll tell you who to call rather, because they'll
Okay.
come to you to do single tests and group testing, and there's costs and all that sort of. Yes, there's a thing. There's a thing. I see a face of it. There's
I
a
do that
thing.
for my family,
Yes.
my mommy. Yeah.
Hit me up offline. I'll give you the information.
Okay.
And if any of the people watching want some information, we'll send it to you. Just Tori, just tell us if they're asking for whatever the links are, and we'll put it into the chat. So earlier we were talking about self care, and a lot of people do a lot of meditating when they're on set. They do different self care things because a day is 12, 14, 16, 18 hours long. How are the
Saw that,
days?
Tanya.
Yeah, sure.
I drank, baby. I drank.
Self
Shut it.
care.
Self care. It keeps me mellow. Leave me alone. But do you find that maybe your self care practices have changed on set? That maybe you do a lot more meditating or a lot more deep breathing exercises in order to keep yourself focused on the here and now of your character versus the here and now of let me watch my 6 feet apart. Let me watch when I put my mask on. Let me think about living today as opposed to being in character. Do you find that you're incorporating more of these practices into your journey, or are you able to just handle it?
Well, I'll just chime in here and say that self-care became a priority at the beginning of COVID and the
Mm.
shutdown and the pandemic. It became a priority for myself.
But when you're on set now, thank goodness you're able to wear a mask when you're working. But
Well,
for example,
oh,
Shinelle
okay.
does not wear a mask. She takes the mask off and
Hmm. Well,
shares
I think
the scene.
self-care for me, as far as set is concerned, has to do with really focusing on being careful so that I am able to work, to continue working, which really cuts down on the places that I go, the people that I'm around. And yeah, that's my sort of self-care thing that I'm doing regarding being able to work. Set is a lot less time spent on set
Oh, okay.
for me. I don't get a chance to really spend too much time on set because I really think the machine is really well oiled when it comes to testing and when you're shooting, what days you're shooting. It's kind of scaled down,
Hmm.
where it's a lot more precision when it comes to spending time on set.
How about you, Chanel? Since I'm guessing you moved to where you are now to be part of this team of artists, and so you're not in LA, you're not in your safe zone. So when you're working on set, is it a
Mm.
16-hour day every day, or do you have fewer days on set? And when you are on set, because you are taking your mask off, do you find yourself doing something to keep yourself centered and at peace?
I've noticed on longer days we have like mask breaks. If there's more than, I don't know what the number is, but we'll go outside and have to social distance and like have those breaks. I've taken up a lot more yoga. I would do it here and there, but now I do have to meditate, and just the isolation period when you can't go places, it kind of works with you mentally. And I talk to family a whole lot more. My family, my daughter and my husband, actually, they came to visit and they had to quarantine before they saw me. Wow. And that was a whole thing. Like, I had to be responsible and not sneak and go see them because I wanted to see my child. But yeah, just meditation, drinking a lot of water.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that works. Yeah.
And Tanya, do you find as the producer on these sets that you're doing a lot more human management, with people like asking more questions about their safety and being a lot more tense about the protocols being in their favor? Your mic, you're muted, Tanya.
I muted because I was trying to find that the links because I saw people asking for them.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, people have been luckily I've been on very tiny, close-knit sets. People have been very mindful of their own spaces because, you know, in the doc world especially, you kind of have a smaller grouping. So people kind of, you know, keep to their own, they kind of create their own personal bubble. So it works out. It's harder for me because one of the main reasons I like film and television is that that collaborative vibe and energy and everybody coming together to create this one vision. You know, I've had ADs in the past tell me I play too much on set because I like to have fun. Because for me, it's fun. It's my happy place. And so you have to be mindful of the happy place now, like, and what you can and cannot do in the happy place. You know, my baby sister back in the day used to, I remember there was a stressful set we were on, indie set we were on a long time ago, low budget, and it was a lot of stress. And she was a PA, it was one of her first PA jobs. She must have been like 14, child labor laws. Anywho, she walked around and she would give out, she would walk up to people and go, free motivational hug. And it was a thing. And I realized that now with COVID, there are no free motivational hugs coming, you know. You can't see somebody in kind of and say, hey, how you doing? You know, everything okay? No, seriously. And like, you can't, I forget that you can't touch people. You know, like, I forget you can't be close. Like, for me, for example, there is a picture, I don't even know if I left it on my website, but there's a picture that somebody captured of me and my director of photography once. And I was trying to get the shot and he was sitting on an apple box we were in the middle of the street. So he's sitting on an apple box and I literally have one foot in between his legs and one on the outside. And so my butt is like on his shoulder and we're both looking into the camera. The camera monitor, and it was like, now I think about it, like, we can't do that now. It's like, how am I gonna shoot if we can't get that close? You know, there are shots of us putting a scarf, like one of those Desert Storm looking scarf things, over us, and we're looking at the monitor because of the sun. We're outside, and so we're both like, you know, underneath this thing, like looking at, we can't do that anymore. And like, we looked up and peeked and somebody took a shot of us. And I was just like, we don't have those moments anymore.
Yeah, it's
kind
like
of heartbreaking.
People who are not artists look at us and we're all huggy. Hey, how are you? Hey, and I'm just like, that's how we do. That's how we flow. And
that's how we give and receive energy, you know, and it's just,
to create that community that's necessary to do this thing, you know? We're forming like family in a blink of an eye and creating this magic bond out of nowhere. And it comes from bonding on so many levels. That's both spiritual, physical, and it's a unique experience. Absolutely unique experience. And one of the most unique experiences for me is like, I remember when we shot Grand Army. It's a Netflix project that I was in last year in 2019.
Yes, you were.
You not
Yes,
were
I
in
was.
it, you are in it.
I
So
am
it
in
still
it.
exists
Yeah.
though.
I just remember flying back and forth to Canada in 2019, which,
Wow.
it was amazing. But I loved being in the hair makeup trailer,
Mm.
right? I loved being in that trailer and having these amazing, hairstylists, because the blessing on that set is all the hairstylists were of color.
Hmm.
So I knew my hair would get done. And the makeup artist making you look gorgeous, they're all up in your face, putting that lipstick on for you and feeling that community. So what is it like now to be in the hair make? Is there such a thing as a hair makeup trailer anymore? Did they just come to your trailer and deal with you individually? What is it like now to do the work, ladies?
Well, on my set, New Amsterdam has its own, I guess, studio now, in Greenpoint. So
Mm.
they've converted this big, huge warehouse into their own studio. It's all I don't know what the technical word is. Tanya probably knows what to call that, but I'm not really sure what you would call it. But for me, it's like a big converted warehouse and all of the dressing rooms and where we eat and the set itself it's all there. And makeup and hair and makeup have their own rooms. So now
Mm.
it's just, yeah, it's separated, it's distance, it's big plastic things dividing.
I had to buy
Right?
those. I had to buy those. So yeah.
You have to buy those, yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
you still have the bond with the makeup artist and with the hair person, and but you do have to take your mask off. I do have to take my mask off for makeup. She did my whole face. I'm like, you're gonna do my whole face? She's like, yeah, even though only this is seen. They still do.
And wait, so I went on a shoot once and I showed up, first time meeting the crew. Everybody, of course, we meet on the outside of the location. Everybody's wearing masks. They come out to their cars. They're all wearing masks. Hi, I'm Tanya. I'm Todd. We all meet each other and we work for the entire day. Then we go to pick up lunch and they took off their masks and I didn't know who they were.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what? I was like,
Yeah.
like, I'm so confused right now. I was like, Chris, who? Like, and I was like, shirt, look at the shirt, look at the shirt. Because the faces, you don't see somebody's face for the whole day.
Yeah.
And if they wear a hat, oh, forget it.
I put a
Chanel.
little color on my lip because I was like, they don't see this part of my face.
Right.
Like, I'm so happy to be here because I can wear some color on my lip.
What about you, Chanel?
I was looking through my phone for a selfie, and the last time, like an outdoor selfie, just randomly, and I almost burst into tears. This is like the last time I took a selfie outdoors without a mask on was in March.
Mm.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy right now. Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of the same as Yvette. I'm on the trailer. It's longer than what I remember from the last one. They each have like the plastic dividers, and last looks, they're not always coming to me. So
Right.
giving me my own lip gloss, and I'm like hitting it up because the mask rub it off. Somebody's gonna watch this and it's like, let me invent something. So yeah. But yeah, last looks is me and trust. And I think, I don't know, as an actor, I like to be a little more natural and not like some glossed lips. So
Right.
I don't know, it may help the story that we're not always like being patted
It
down.
does. It's kind of scaled down to like what's important.
Yeah, right.
Mm.
The people that make me feel good before I get on set and make me feel like, oh yeah, my character would wear this. But then it's like, let me fix my shirt. But if my collar is flapped in while I'm having this argument.
Yeah, nobody's
cares.
there to come and do this
Thank
part,
you.
and like
Yeah.
turn this around. Yeah, that's not happening.
One of
So
the biggest differences that I noticed was the food on set. how they handle
Tell us.
food now.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
what's it like? What's it about? Is
Well,
it just
food
no
used to be
longer the
like
buffet?
so, like food on the set, like we live for the food.
Yeah,
Right? Actors, I
good.
mean,
Good.
like the food, at the amount of food, the different stations, the different kinds of food. Now food is like the PAs will ask you what would you like? Here's the menu, here's the menu, make a choice. That's what you want, that's what you get. You know, and then for lunch, it's like here's the menu, what do you want? Make a
And it
choice.
comes in a box, right?
And it comes in a box. It's very different. It's kind of disappointing, you know, because
I love talking to the catering people because they're giving us all this love. It's like, I love you too.
They're so sweet on this set. So sweet. Yeah. To go see them. How are you? But
Yeah,
now
how are you? Thank you for thinking it. Because I'm gluten intolerant and I'm allergic to peanuts. I got all these allergies. So I always give big love when they think, oh, this is for you. I made this. There was literally this member of the catering team. He would make little things for me that I could eat. I'm like, I love you so much.
yeah, that's the family. Yeah.
That's the family. That's
Yeah.
the family.
You now don't get to go and do this whole thing where you're like, maybe I'll have a little bit of that, and a little bit of that, and some of that. And like,
No more
maybe I'll
buffet,
try this
baby.
today. No,
yeah,
it's like make a decision. It's in a box, it's packaged, and that's what you get in.
And it's
That's it.
just to get you
You don't have a
going.
choice.
Get back on set.
Hmm.
yeah. Here's
Because
your
you're-
food. Thank you very much.
Because before, like lunch, or even like if you took a break or something, it was kind of like you had this, it wasn't just you, it was you
Mhm.
and somebody else at the craft
Mhm.
table or at the lunch, and you would sit with somebody and you would get to know somebody else on your team and that sort of thing. No, just no and no. It's like put that food in your mouth and that's it.
Yeah,
Like put on back the mask. And so it just becomes this whole, it kind of limits your ability to become close to other people, I think.
Do you guys share
Yeah.
that feeling?
You're making me sad.
I'm not making you sad.
Wait,
Okay,
I need,
okay,
I need some
okay.
self-care. I need some
Okay.
self-care.
Get your self-care on. Okay, so
I'm
all
gonna
right,
go take a
let's think
self-care
about
bath with some lavender.
lavender. So let's think about, okay, so we've just talked about the challenges. Now let's think about name one or two I can things that you've learned while you've been adjusting to this new world as an artist. You know, this empowering I can that you've discovered for yourself. Um, feel free to jump in when you.
Oh boy, it's been so many of those moments.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I have transitioned to the Zoom platform and I can act, I can direct, I can teach and make money doing it on this platform,
Yeah, I
right?
love Zoom. Who
Mm.
here
And
loves Zoom?
I
I love Zoom. She's like,
and
Tanya's
I
like,
can write.
you can write. Okay, I
I can
love it.
write. I wrote
Love it.
I wrote an entire pilot, right? And I'm like, okay, I can do it. And I'm writing a play. So it's just that time. It's just like, what are you going to do? You know, so I feel like, and I can take care of myself.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
can really I can take care of myself. I can survive this. I can make a home.
Mhm.
I can make a beautiful home. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, I can make things for myself beautiful. I can bring beauty into my space.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
That's right. I can make a home. Yeah.
All right, Yvette.
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah. Right now, I can make a home. And, you know, like I said, like I would just have a lot of fear. And I just told myself, I can be in quiet. I don't have to be the past. I can be right now and just enjoy. I can enjoy things right now.
Right.
And ditto to like, I can do all things because, you know, sitting in this pandemic, you start thinking like, well, why did this happen? And why is this happening right now while I'm shooting this show? Because I love this show and I get back on set and I'm like, oh God, like there are some things that I wasn't given this character that needed to open up during this time. And my
Oh,
friend,
wow.
she was like, you feasting during a famine right now. And I was like,
Mm.
you're right. You know, it's so much. So I can feast while there's so much like uncertainty.
Yeah.
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 I mean, and also like things like self-care, like healing, you
Mhm.
know, I can heal, I can take care of myself in that kind of way. You know, I can create community, have community around those types of things, you know, and that's ongoing for me. It's so important to be able to be, you know, aware and self-aware and to take the time to do things like take care of yourself in different ways, you
Yeah.
know, like
Mhm.
healing, like, yeah, you
I would
know.
say that the one I discovered is I can be strong in the storm, and I can accept what was the unacceptable. You know, it's like family members have gotten the virus, and I don't know if me from a year ago would have been able to handle and not been like, I gotta go do something. I gotta do something, you know? I gotta fix it. Because I'm a fixer,
Mhm.
you know? I'm a big time, like, go fix everything. And I couldn't fix it because I'm not allowed to be near them. So I had to trust God to fix it. So I
Mm.
can trust in God. I can release my sense of I have control and just ask, what do I have? And accept it. And still aim for what I want. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
can, I can trust in a higher power.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
That's all you have.
oh
Yep,
yeah,
that's true.
You know, that's all you
oh
have.
yeah.
And Tanya, do you want to share, or you're like, not now, girl?
Um, I feel like a slacker. So,
What? Nah.
I mean, like, the one thing I have been doing is getting comfortable with being on camera. So, when you say, like, oh, I love this Zoom thing, I hate it because I hate being on camera. I love being behind the camera. And if we're hanging out face to face, I'm good with that. But this whole thing of, like there's a camera, it's focused on you, and it's like, yeah, that just it makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
Well, I have to tell
Um,
you something, Tanya. Juan Ramirez Jr. says that chair is on fire, Tanya E. Taylor. So
Thank you,
you know good.
darling.
You know how to set up a shot, okay? Even if you
Well,
don't
see,
like to be on camera, you're like, this is my shot.
you do know this, right? So every time I have to do one of these things, I'm like, okay, so let's curate the scene. Like, we have to figure out, like, because that's how I am. Like, when I'm watching somebody's Zoom and all these webinars, yes, I'm listening to them, but I'm actually looking at their house. I'm like, yo, that's a nice painting on the wall back there. And that's a this, and that's a, and so, I tend to try and do New York and the skyline if we have a good night, because I feel like we always do these things and we're all trapped indoors.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, this is my way of trying to be outside while we're inside trapped doing this. So but yeah, it's been an adjustment for me. It's been an adjustment, I have to say. I've done a lot of these Zoom things, and it's a sticky wicket. Today you get pants. Sometimes, that doesn't happen. So
Red
I've
pants at
learned
that.
that I can go, I've learned that I can go days without, I can go
Without
and
pants.
do Zoom meetings without wearing pants.
Okay, so I want to read one more comment. Laureen Chesley says, "Ha ha ha! See, I miss being able to collaborate, play, and have that type of fun." And she also liked all the tips that we've been giving her. And yeah, yeah. So and yeah, you made Juan Ramirez Jr. cry. Yes, you did. You just made him cry, Tanya. So let's think about we've just been sharing a lot. You guys have been sharing. I've been asking a bunch of questions. And if you had to give advice to any of the actors out there, directors, PAs, sound people, makeup artists, all these people who are waiting to be called back to set, but there aren't that many sets perhaps, and they're just waiting and wondering how would they handle it. What advice would you give them about, 2020, the set 2020 in which you aspire for set on a life on a set in 2021? What would you make them, what words of wisdom would you give them to prepare? This opportunity will come and hopefully you'll do this to handle it.
Okay, so one thing is the pandemic and Black Lives Matter resurgence has actually led to a lot of hiring. Right across the board, especially if you have technical skills like sound, camera, and camera assistant, DIT, that kind of thing. You just have to go out and look for it and actually ask for it. So that's one thing I have learned, and I am learning to master. So I've learned I can do it, and I just haven't done it. But it's asking for what you want and what you need in a space. Because I'm accustomed to doing it myself. But now in this zone where we're kind of like everybody is separate and apart, you can't really do it yourself. So it's a lot of meeting new people and just basically, hey, this is what I would want to do. This is, can we do this together? So there are a lot of opportunities that are coming up now with a lot of jobs that are coming out. People are not just hiring the people they know. They're looking for new people. They're looking for right across the gamut. I mean, I was working on a project that asked me for, the director on this project wanted an all Black crew for the first time. And so it wasn't a challenge for me to find. I was very excited. And then they came back and they said, oh, based on our content, can we diversify the crew now? And I was like, wait, that's the first time I've heard diversify, meaning, don't hire all that. So, but what it meant was that our team was collectively thinking about who we hire, the story we're telling, and where we're telling the story, the spaces that we're inhabiting. And so I find coming out of this, even though the pandemic was a horrible thing, it's that we now spend more time and consideration. We're more intentional with how we proceed with production and the stories we're telling and how we're telling the stories and with whom we're telling the stories. So the jobs are out there. Get into the groups if you're watching us on Facebook. So there are a lot of Facebook groups that are for BIPOC, and there are a lot of writing groups for BIPOC filmmakers. And there's a brilliant documentary group called Brown Girls Doc. A lot of these Brown Girls Doc,
Tori, Brown Girls Doc, write it into
right.
a Facebook page.
And a lot of these groups, so there's HUYOUKNOW, HUYOUKNOW, HUYOUKNOW.
Okay,
that's a Facebook
Let me get the
group.
Facebook page. Let me go type it in. This is all important. Okay.
So a lot of these groups are actually being championed by larger companies. So like Netflix and Amazon are now trying, and a lot of the production companies are trying to partner with these groups. Staff Me Up, which is where a lot of people in the industry try and find jobs, technical jobs, not acting jobs. They try to find people with these groups or partner with these groups to find people. So sometimes the gatekeepers of these groups will be your champion. So if you send in your resume through that group, they will forward it on and say, hey, this is somebody you should look at, kind of thing. So you kind of have unknown champions in your corner. And yeah, I think it's opened up a world, and I hope the door stays open, all the doors stay open. That would not necessarily, I've said this to Magaly before, it's like, I feel really guilty in one respect that it took something as bad as this to happen for us to, open these doors. But at the same time, I'm ultra grateful that now people are realizing that their practices were wrong. They did the wrong thing. They should never have done that. I was in a room with an agent at CAA, and he said he's guilty of it, and he knows that he's guilty of it, and he's trying not to do it anymore, where he actually was part of the team that brought a show together that was an all Black show, but it had no Black writers. And he did it, successful show. It was great when he did it, but now in retrospect, he's just like, I should never have done that, and I will never do it again. So it is that people are reflecting, you know, and I think coming out of this, that, you know, your natural hair, you know, being able to use your natural hair on set. We were talking about it earlier, and we were talking about hair, and, you know, how our hair artists on set are now allowed to explore that artistry. Like, look at Jingle Jangle. You think we could have made
Oh my
Jingle Jangle last year?
gosh, that was beautiful.
Do
Oh
That
my
you
was
think
gosh.
so good. I
do you
loved
think it
it.
would have been as successful last year? No.
Why not?
Like,
I loved it.
no, it would have been watched, but only by a certain grouping of people. Now it's being watched by everybody. Everybody has opened their eyes, and they're more accepting and more open to learning and seeing us in a different light. And for that, I am like forever grateful.
And they definitely had Black hairstylists on that piece.
Yo, that
Wig
show, that
makers up
hair.
the
Oh my God.
wazoo.
That hair,
That hair was gorgeous. They built
everything.
those wigs magnificently.
Mm.
You
So
know,
brilliant.
it's like
So
the
brilliant.
drama of being on set, not having someone to do your hair who knows how to handle our hair, you know. And that's coming to be less and less the case, right, Shinelle? Anyone else want to share any words of wisdom? I would say honor yourself, right? We have these amazing artists right here sharing their journey and their choices. But if you feel like Chanel's friend said, I'm gonna stay home, no, it ain't worth it. I've spoken to a lot of artists who said, I have said no to gigs because I was like, I don't think it's gonna be safe. I said
Mm-hmm.
no to a print gig because I'm like, I don't think print cares as much as SAG. There's no union for print. So I'm not doing that because I am not 20. I'm much older and I don't feel like I'm going to be safe on that set. So honor yourself. If you feel you don't want to fly and the gig requires that you fly and you say, I don't want to do that, there's no shame in that game. Do what you feel good about. And if you feel good about making your money and trusting that God will take care of you, that's also cool. You are the only one who can know. But we are just here to give insights on what the experience is like and amazing women with amazing insights. Yvette, do you have any words of wisdom?
I know a lot of actors, and most of them have been able to adjust to the Zoom platform, and in order to
Yeah.
just be a part of creating and doing something, because that really was all that was available. I know some actors who just rejected it outright, you know. But I'm the type of actor who I rarely say no to work, because
Girl, you
like you,
jumped into
Tanya,
it. You
Me
were
it's
the
too.
my
first
it's my
person who
happy
It's
worked
your
with
place.
happy
me.
place.
Yeah.
Acting and creating is my happy place. I
Yeah.
become instant family members with my cast members and crew. You know, it's what I love to do. So
Mm.
I approached it the being able to work on Zoom in that way, you know. So if I had to get on a plane, if I had to take the, you know, the train to do my work, then I'm going to, you know, be as safe as possible as I can. But I feel like, for advice for anybody out there to working in 2021 or 20, you know, the rest of 2020, we really have to practice being patient, practice
Mm.
believing, having faith, and
Mm-hmm.
that we will get through this, you know. And that, as a result of movements like Black Lives Matter and the industry paying attention and waking and being, you know, having champions, you know. And I'm so happy to hear that, you know, who you know, that there are people out there like Netflix, like paying attention to like who you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I'm excited about that, you
Mm-hmm.
know. That there are more opportunities that will be available once we open up again. because content is being written. People
Yeah.
are writing,
Yeah.
you know, and once we are able to open up where new content can be produced, because right now the old shows are still, if you're already in production and you were lucky enough to have a role or, you know, whatever, then yeah, you can work. But the new stuff is the stuff that is adding up, you know, that like is growing and growing and growing. So when we open up again, keep yourself safe,
Yeah.
you know, so that you can be
Training.
available.
Training online, you know, take your classes, you know, don't stay at home and forget that you have to keep on training. I teach classes online. Yvette teaches classes online. You know, do the Zoom projects. Conch Productions has been producing Zoom projects, and that's why we have this amazing community of people here today talking with you. Shinelle, any words of wisdom?
Everything everybody's saying.
All right, I love it. Everything everybody's saying. Thank
You know
you,
what?
ladies.
I want to say now is a good time for, even though we're locked down in our own little boxes, virtual boxes like this, what this has done is it's forced us to communicate even further than we normally would. Like before COVID, I never would have worked or even probably met Magaly until probably a set where she came into audition or something. But because of COVID, you know, a friend of mine said, hey, we're doing this Zoom play thing. Would you like to direct one of them? And, you know, here's Conch, Andrew and Carl from Brota introduced me to Conch and Magaly, and then we became friends from that. And I was able to do 2 projects through that. There are things that, and doors and windows that are open now that are not before. You know, I was in Clubhouse the other day and Ava DuVernay just popped in and was having this conversation. And she was literally talking to anybody who raised their hand. Like, you don't have that kind of access now. I mean, you don't have that kind of access before now. Like,
Right.
even Twitter and Instagram, it's a hit or miss. Like, but people are now paying attention to you and people want to talk to you because we're all trapped in these little boxes. And so we have a wider reach. So it's just for us to reach.
Yes.
Reach
And
through
I
that
have to
window,
say
reach
the
through that
last
door.
thing, I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry.
I'm done, sorry.
But the last thing, live thing that I participated in was with Conch Productions. Magaly's festival that she produces, one of the festivals that she produces, I was a director on 2 things. I directed a reading for her of her full-length play, and Monique A. Robinson's one-person show. I directed that for the One Act Festival. So it's kind of like, here we go, Magaly, and I'm so grateful that you are who you are, the producer that you are, and you have, you know, been one of those champions for us continuing to work and communicate and commune on this platform. So I'm really grateful for you, sis, for real.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you, Shinelle.
I had flowers, you know.
Thank you.
Cheers. Cheers.
Okay, I'm gonna drink my water.
Let me throw some reactions here.
You see my unicorn?
Ooh.
You see my unicorn? You can't see my unicorn. Okay.
Oh, that's cute.
And the cup says, "Don't be basic. Don't be basic." Thank you, Yvette. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Shinelle, for joining us today. And thank you all who are out there watching. May 2020 end with health, blessing, prosperity, and joy. And come on back in 2021. I'll be sending out a call for submissions. Get out there. Get your work out there via Zoom, because that's all I'm doing, people. We're going to do Zoom 2021. But thank you for all the love and the support, and for tuning in for our artist chats, because they're all about you. All about connecting you to these amazing, beautiful artists. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Nice meeting you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Same here.
Bye, Tanya.
All
Bye,
the best on
Shinelle.
set.
See y'all on set.
Yes.
See you on set.
All right.